All right, let's go up Steve Williams, Steve from K&N. He's been there forever. Steve, you said something really cool. Treat sponsors like a bridesmaid every year. Let's talk about that because it's so true. After 3 years, you forget about your sponsor. You start doing your own thing. Yeah, you're saying, no. You got to date that person every year.
Yeah, I mean, in a strange way, a sponsor in being sponsored as a racer is a little bit like a marriage, and there's a tendency that when things are going well to only focus on what it takes to win. And, it's the same thing with your personal relationships. It's like you want to make sure that they feel appreciated in every way, whether you're winning, losing, delivering, and so I kind of coined that phrase a few years back because what we started seeing was we had relationships that would go 3 to 5 years. And, those middle years would go a little bit dark, and you lose that connection. And it's all about communication and it's all about visibility. So that's kind of where that came from. It was one of Tony's and my favorite when he and I worked
Tony.
together. It's one of our favorite statements.
And Tony used to also always say, know what I'm doing, know what my plan is. Tony would always say, know my plan. I have a plan. Every quarter, every season, every year, the brand has a plan. Perhaps there's a new product coming out or a new market going after. How do I know what your plan is? If I'm a new racer and I want to get aboard K&N's program, how do I know the plan?
Well, I mean, to be considered, at any level, and now we're obviously talking about dollar sponsorships. As a potential, racer that wants a relationship, you've got to really study the company and the business that you're going to be presenting to. It's not just about telling them what you're going to do and how you're going to give the brand this additional exposure. It's really what are their goals as a company? And I'll tell you what, you'd be shocked at how many people will actually share what their goals are. I mean, right now we're seeing, a shift in all different types of traditional marketing, from, television to print to social media, all different forms. And so we are seeing this flow. It doesn't mean that one is completely ignored. It just means that you're seeing some that are much more popular, and you're able to get, to consumers so much more quickly and directly. But at the same time, every business has goals and they are willing to share those. So if you get an audience and ask them what are their goals, I mean, kind of leads me into how I feel you can differentiate yourself, which is when you study the business, there are ways to connect businesses with legitimate opportunities that create income. And that is a home run. If you happen, now what do I mean by that? A few years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, we had a relationship with NHRA and Toyota both. And, we were doing a horsepower challenge event, which we gave away a car, and every year we would go and ask for a car. And, it was a very successful promotion. Had thousands and thousands of people sign up for the promotion. But what we found out was that at the dealership level, people signing up for the promotions, it wasn't getting back to sales leads inside of Toyota. As soon as we made that connection, the value of the relationship completely changed. And, a year later, we found out that some of the strongest sales leads came out of the K&N Horsepower Challenge with NHRA and Toyota. So it's about studying. Look, this is not easy. Anybody that tells you getting a sponsorship is easy, they knew somebody at the company and they just happened to get paid and but if you really want to be paid to race, it's going to take a lot of hard work.
And where do I start? What's the first thing I do if I'm just getting into racing, but I'm pretty damn good and I'm starting to get on the podium?
Great
What's
question.
My first step?
Okay, depending on what racing avenue you're in. If you're in dirt track, who's killing it out there?
Okay.
Who's the number one? Who has the best sponsor out there? And study them. What did they do? It's, what are they doing differently? What are they doing that is at such an exceptional level somebody's willing to sponsor them? I mean, go out. It's no different than an athlete in stick and ball sports. What are those guys doing that make the NFL? They're willing to do things other people aren't willing to do. They're willing to put the time in, the effort, the hard work. So whatever, like, let's say you're in sprint cars. Who's killing it in sprint cars? What are the sponsors that really like sprint cars? That they love the Chili Bowl. They're involved. I mean, that's the richer ground to look for sponsorship. If it's NHRA, get inside that national drag shirt, look at every single advertiser. Look at everybody that's in the back. Look at all the contingency sponsors. That's your first tier of who you can go after. Now go study them and then ask yourself, what are the top 10 companies that I believe I can bring some value to in a non-traditional way where I can at least get an audience? I mean, the first thing you've got to do is get somebody to listen to you before you can even pitch a sponsorship, right?
And how do you do that? Keep going. This is good. Keep going. You got to get someone to listen to.
Well,
How
I
do you
mean,
do that? How do I
in
find the
today's
sponsor in
world,
the
you can
first place?
find out, in today's world, you can find out who's the head of marketing in every company, like in a nanosecond. Go online, find out who that is, contact them, say, look, I've got a unique idea. I think I can bring some value to the business. Who can I send to get in front of somebody to at least promote it? But don't ask for a meeting unless you're ready to actually, if you've done your homework and you've studied that company and you're ready to present. Because if they give you an opportunity, whether it's through an email or they let they'll talk to you on the phone, be ready to drop your idea on them and make sure that it catches their attention. So
you said earlier, brands will tell you if you just ask, what is it you're looking for? Let me just ask you then, for the racers on the call, because they're all wondering,
sure,
what is K&N looking for right now? And if I were a racer on the call wanting to be sponsored by K&N, what are you looking for that I can help you with?
A perfect example would be, K&N has been around for well over 50 years, started by racers who flat track raced, right? So the heritage of the company is born out of racing, right? But as the company has grown, we've now branched off into industrial and into commercial air filtration. It's a new area for K&N. You may have seen it, you may not. We're working very hard to change the way people think about air filters. And there's air filters for everything, buildings, cars, everything you drive, everything has filters, some form of filters. So now we've moved into industrial filtration, high vac filtration for your home, right? But we want it to be reusable. We want it to be not only high performance, we want it to last a lifetime, but we want it to be reusable, washable. So we've just broken into that market the last 5 years, and we're having a lot of success. Somebody on the show right now, do they have an idea to help K&N grow their home filtration business? Racers are smart. They find ways to race in the most incredible ways. You can't tell me there aren't people that are like, oh my gosh, I know somebody who works at Train. I know somebody who works here. I know somebody who works here. I'll bet you they'd be interested in getting a hold of K&N. You now have an ability to make a connection. You become a connector. Now you ask to be considered for some form of involvement in sponsorship. You got a seat at the table. I'm not saying you'll get the sponsorship, but that's what I mean by that.
Well, I know that there are a lot of racers who are in the construction industry, and especially in off-road, a large majority. We've done surveys in the past of the demographics, and the construction industry was one of the largest when it came to the demographics of those who raced at least off-road. So, construction and home building and commercial building and air filtration for those buildings, that all seems to make sense. So if you're a racer in construction and you can help K&N filters get into some of those construction sites, it sounds like that might be an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, one of the relationships we had with an alcohol dragster, and I'll use it as an example, was 15 years ago. And he happened to be involved in ports where, the railroads came through and they picked up goods and shipping out of ports of call without violating any confidentiality agreements. He happened to see that there was a certain type of equipment that used nothing but these big giant, they were disposable filters. And so he called into K&N, called into Jonathan and myself and said, hey, could you guys build this type of a filter? Because we have this equipment all over the United States unloading all of these containers, and it's used in a disposable piece of equipment. That's now a part of K&N's business. We build reusable filters for that equipment. And for that, we got a relationship. He ran Top Alcohol Drags for a while. We were on his car. We helped out. It was like, why wouldn't you want to help people that help you grow your business? That's the point I'd leave with you. Why wouldn't you want to help people race if they can legitimately help you grow your business?
Yeah, exactly. Steve, last words of advice to any racer on the call, things that we might not have covered, questions I didn't ask, but what advice do you have, tips, tricks on sponsorships?
I gave you some creative ideas and ways to look for an in to be able to make your pitch. But honestly, I've been sponsored for many, many years. I worked very hard for that, and then eventually went to work for the company. Look at my best advice is you've got to number one, you have to be willing to self promote and be unashamed about it. Learn from the best in the business. Learn how to self promote. Learn how to speak. Learn how to do things for your sponsor that they need you to do. But the second one is you got to be willing to outwork everybody. I mean, Jack Beckman was one of the best. Him and I have been friends for almost 50 years. And, the reason he became as successful as he did in NHRA, he was willing to work, get behind a microphone. I mean, you name it, Jack was there self-promoting. Great example for some of the younger group that want to understand how to get a sponsorship, be willing to work 7 days a week, 24/7. And eventually you're going to get the opportunity, but it won't come just sitting there dreaming.
Right. Nice. Thank you, Steve. Thank you
bet.
so much.